How have Christians in Wales made an impact on the culture in the past? Well, to all intents and purposes, Wales was little affected by the Reformation in the 1500s. It was after that, with the influence of John Wesley, George Whitfield, and some younger Welsh guys, Howell Harris, Daniel Rowlands, William Williams, that evangelical Protestantism came to Wales in the mid-1700s. And it led to a whole sequence of revivals across the country, at least 5 revivals over a 150-year period, from the mid-1700s to the early 1900s. And as a result of that, many, actually hundreds of thousands of people were converted in the most recent revival, 1904-05. It was about 100,000 people out of a population of 2 million people. Well, when you get a lot of people converted, their micro or their individual lives are transformed, and they begin to act as salt and light in society. So people started giving back possessions that they'd stolen. Corruption seemed to reduce sharply. The chapels filled. So the gospel, through the conversions of these many people, permeated the whole of the culture at the micro level of many individuals. But there were some giants that God raised up in that 150, 200 years period from the mid-1700s who had a deep impact on the cultural life of Wales. It wasn't just the music which people like William Williams put together, which we still sing residually today, but God raised up people who had a vision for educating the Welsh population, which was largely peasant. We really didn't have a middle class until after the Second World War in the country. Most people were ill-educated, large families, children having to work in the fields or on farms or in factories at a very early age. And what happened was that through some of these people converted through these revival movements, the Sunday school movement started in Wales, which had the goal of helping people to understand and read the scriptures. But as part of that, these evangelical Christians, they taught people to read and write. So evangelical Christians were in the forefront of the growth of education in the Welsh cultural context. And that transformed so many people's lives. Evangelicals were also in the forefront in the creation of some of the key Welsh universities. They were involved in the formation of trade unions and the concern for workers' rights. They were involved in arguing for better conditions in the workplace. So you had many individual Christians who were converted, but some key folks amongst them who were really seeking to apply biblical truth in every sphere of society. And that really shaped Welsh culture from about the middle of the 1700s through to the early part of the 20th century. And it really made Wales a modern culture, a modern country, with a focus on education and care of people in the workplace and so on, and the application of biblical truth across a whole range of areas had a deep and penetrating impact on our culture. Sadly, what we've seen since, particularly the First World War, is partly because of grappling with the issue of suffering in the war, but the arrival of liberal theology and secular thinking from the continent of Europe, the church retreated from its engagement in the culture. And so it's been a struggle for us increasingly since the 1914-18 war. But having said that, in recent years we do see a number of Welsh Christians who are seeking to make a positive influence in the life of our culture, and especially through groups like the Evangelical Alliance and the Evangelical Movement of Wales and worldwide, and other agencies, and the student ministry. We have people who are better equipped to serve in the Welsh Assembly, some senior people in media, and in education and other spheres of life who are acting as salt and light. Probably what we need to pray for is that we recapture not just a vision for preaching which clearly explains and articulates the gospel in a way that people understands, but attractive Christian communities who engage with people in many of our smaller communities, and then the application of the biblical worldview or the whole of Scripture to every sphere of life. And we probably need to encourage those three things together in our generation in order to see a turnaround.